is January Jones. She is not a young, beautiful, talented actress on Mad Men. She is not an older, gorgeous, exotic dancer from the Johnny Carson Show. She is an author, and she wrote Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th Commandment, that reached #1 at Amazon.com. She is a reality TV golf personality with World High Stakes Golf televised on HDNet. She is a humorist and winologist expert. She is your featured host today on January Jones Sharing Success Stories. So sit back, relax, and get ready to laugh and listen to Ms. Jones with her eclectic roster of guests as you learn life's lessons. These stories plus sharing equals success. Welcome, and remember, beware, because you are entering the no whining world of January Jones.
Now here's a question for my listeners. Are you dealing with addiction in your life or in your own family? Can you imagine what it would be like to lose a child to addiction or to have a child dealing with addiction? Have you ever wanted to know why your loved ones suffer so much? Now, would you like to learn what happens when you start to live without addiction in your life, when you start to change your life? Tell me, have you ever heard of a book called Prime Threat, Shattering the Power of Addiction? Now, would you like to meet someone who has some of the answers that we're looking for today? Now, are you ready to learn how to be successful and how to deal with addiction? If you can answer yes or maybe to any of these questions, then you are in the right place. And I'd like to welcome you to January Jones Sharing Success Stories. Today I'll be introducing you to my guest. This is the first time she has been on the show, and I'm very excited to have her with us. She will provide us with information, inspiration, and some really, really great advice about addiction. I'm pleased to announce that this show is now live on Talk4 Media, and we are syndicated on 6 networks with over 5 million listeners to date. We are archived 24/7 for your listening pleasure. So now it's time for you to sit back and relax as you enter the no wine zone. Pour yourself a glass of wine, get some cheese and crackers, and enjoy our show. Now, let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. Our guest came from a family who loved to read all categories of books, so it's no surprise that she wanted to write, just not the way it began. After watching her son struggle with addictions from early childhood until his death at age 36, she was driven to know how this addiction began and why his life ended up the way it did. Working with her son from the other side and asking all the questions she wanted answered, she now shares with you their loving, true account of his many lifetimes of addictions and shows you how it is possible to live without addictions. On her journey to open herself up to receive this information, she left her more than 20 years in corporate America and she went back to her spiritual roots. In the process, she wrote 2 books on the 7 major chakras in the 3rd book, an anthology with 28 different spiritual healers and their spiritual modalities. It is my pleasure to welcome to the show today, Joan Peck. Hi, Joan. How are you today?
I am fine.
Wonderful to have you on the show. I've been looking forward to this show. I have your website up, and you are such a lovely lady. Your picture's fabulous. You've been on quite a journey, haven't you?
what I'll say, and it has been a wonderful journey. I feel very, very blessed, for sure.
Okay, now I like to share with my listeners where success stories began, where you were raised, who your early mentors were, and how your success story began. Could you share that info with us?
Yes, I grew up with my family in Elmira, New York, which is a small country town, beautiful little town. And growing up, I was at the stage, I'm now in my 70s. So at this stage in my life, I have wonderful mentors. Growing up, it was not really something that women talked about necessarily. I certainly had a very strong, wonderful mother and grandmother, strong ladies, and very balanced ladies. So I grew up in a very balanced, very loving childhood, really. And when I got married, I married at a young age, and I did not realize it at the time, but my husband was an alcoholic.
Oh, okay.
So all my adult life, I have dealt with addiction.
Okay.
So it has been quite a journey of trying to find balance within my own life as well, which is why I wrote the first 2 books on the chakras to kind of divide the ways of living into 7 different groupings. So after I lost my son, then I could try to get balance in my life by dividing it among the chakras and what they represent. So that's really why I wrote the book.
Okay.
Me, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking at your picture, and you're in your 70s. I'm in your 70s, and I think we both have the same photographer because I think your picture is amazing, and I think my photographer did miracles for me. Isn't it fun to see women who are in their 70s doing things like the things that you're doing and I'm doing? This was unheard of when we were growing up, wasn't it?
Absolutely, and this is what is so wonderful. And so many of us, just like you said, January, so many of us, women are finding second and third careers and really are being in service, just like you are. In service with sharing information that helps people. And it's a great feeling, isn't it?
Oh, it is. The other last night we were watching all this craziness going on with the elections, and my husband and I were chatting about it, and I thought, wow, these people are in their late 60s, their early 70s. They are expending so much energy. They are like in the prime of their life at this point in time, running in politics and trying to change the country and help people. It's just the parameters are so different because when I grew up, people in their 70s, they were really old.
I know. I thought everyone died at 65.
Yeah.
It took me many years. When somebody used to ask me how old my grandmother was, I'd say 65, and she lived long beyond that.
Yeah. And it's a wonderful thing because you see that people are finding this vitality, this energy, this ability to change and to help other people. Now, let's talk a little bit about your book, and it came out just recently. It came out, I think, February 14th. That's what my press release said. It came out on Valentine's Day. And it has the power to help those who have lost a loved one to alcohol or drug addiction to be free of any guilt and to help those with addictions to be free of them. How long did it take you to write this book?
Actually, it took about 8 years. I thought that I would write it right after Jay died. And instead, I kept being told to first do the other 2 books, and then I did a third book because somebody asked me to do it for them, the anthology. And so it kept getting moved back, but I really needed the time to understand myself as energy and to understand what was going to be told to me through my son and through a channeler.
Okay.
So the timing was perfect. They always say, everything comes in its own time, and that is for sure, because I thought I'd have it out 2 years ago. But it didn't happen that way.
Yeah. And how old was Jay when you lost him?
He was 36.
Oh, so young.
36, so young, and he started climbing into medicine cabinets when he was 2 years old. Poor thing.
Okay.
So, and nobody would ever think at that age that they might have an alcohol or addiction problem.
So what you're basically sharing with us in this wonderful book is that he's brought these addictions forward with him from his past lives. And this is something I love talking about, and I believe in past lives, and I believe in the fact that people can communicate and people can teach us big lessons. That's why I'm so pleased to have you on the show with us. And right now, I'm pleased to share our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about this wonderful book that you've just written. We'll be right back with Joan Peck.
January's co-host, Connie Cockrell, the author of Mystery at the Fair, has been writing since 2011 after a challenge from her daughter. An eclectic writer, she's written mysteries, sci-fi, fantasy, and even a thriller. She has been included in 4 different anthologies and published on the e-zine Everyday Fiction. Connie continues to write and entertain with whatever comes into her head. You can find her books on most ebook retail sites. Paperback editions are also available. Be sure to visit her at www.conniesrandomthoughts.com, on Facebook, and on Twitter at Connie Cockrell. The Boy on Shady Grove Road explores a humble but adventurous childhood in rural Arkansas during the 1940s and 50s. Clyde McCulley's juvenile innocence and sense of wonder capture universal mysteries and dreams of childhood while coming to terms with family, friends, and faith in the segregated South. With wit and heartfelt gratitude, The Boy on Shady Grove Road ponders the most basic questions while celebrating the warmth of belonging, the joys of freedom, and the simple pleasures of life. Available on Amazon and StoryNightPress.com. Lately, there's a whining epidemic in our world. People are even whining about whining. Are you sick and tired of listening to everyone whining all the time? So was January Jones, the author of Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th Commandment, that reached #1 at Amazon.com. Ms. Jones based her book on a survey of the top 10 things that people whine about at all ages and all stages of life. January is a success coach that can tell you how to help others. When you buy Thou Shalt Not Whine, the 11th Commandment, you'll find out what people whine about and how to stop them from whining. This is the perfect gift book to give or get for any occasion. Thou Shalt Not Whine was voted the best gift to be given anonymously for those special people in your life. Ms. Jones is an internationally known author in the style of Irma Bombeck, specializing in housewife humor, with her book being published in Korea and China. You can find Thou Shalt Not Whine at Amazon.com.
Welcome back to the No Wine Zone. Today we're visiting with my guest today, Joan Peck, and she is the author of Prime Threat, Shattering the Power of Addiction. And this book launched this past Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2016. Now, Joan, this book, it took you how long? You said 8 years to write?
It did. It did. I started channeling him in and working with the channeler in 2008.
Okay. Now, when you say working with a channeler, how share with our listeners what that process is like, how you go about finding a